Now, on Vanished. Beth Holloway heads to the U.S.-Mexico border on a mission to uncover the harrowing story of one young family.
Goodbye now.
That disappeared into thin air.
It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense.
It's the video from hell.
But first,
Hello?
like never before, Beth recounts the terrifying true story of her daughter's disappearance.
Natalie is truly an angel.
And reveals the unfiltered truth about her quest for justice.
She was frantic, she was desperate, and she was relentless.
I won't do anything until I get some information about Natalie.
I've never stopped looking for Natalie, and I will do everything that I can to find out what happened.
In 2005, I got the call telling me that my daughter, Natalie, had vanished. Every parent's worst nightmare became my reality.
I asked the world to help me.
I found myself in an unimaginable fight. My search for answers gave me a new mission in life: bring the missing home and criminals to justice.
Birmingham, Alabama. 18-year-old Natalie Holloway graduates from Mountain Brook High School at the top of her class.
She just studied so hard, and she was just so determined on what she wanted to do for her future.
Natalie is more than just a bookworm. She's a member of the school's dance team. Funny, popular, and known to all her friends by her nickname, Hootie.
Who's our special guest today?
It's Hootie.
Hootie Hoo Holloway.
Hi, friend.
With a full academic scholarship to the University of Alabama, Natalie's future appears bright.
Natalie had big plans. She wanted to not only finish at Alabama, she wanted to go on to medical school.
But first, Natalie has other plans, a 5-day trip to the Caribbean. Though a few grown-ups are tagging along, it's primarily Natalie, 124 of her classmates, and the sun-drenched beaches of Aruba.
You're headed to Aruba for a graduation adventure with your classmates. I thought, Natalie, you've worked hard and you'll continue to work hard, and I'm in, and I think that sounds wonderful.
The morning that Natalie leaves for her trip, Beth drops her off at a friend's house.
It was dark as she made her way up the walkway, and I remember sitting on the street watching Natalie's silhouette disappear into the light, and then it was dark again. I could have never imagined that that would have been the last time that I would see Natalie.
5 days later, Beth is driving home from a weekend trip when she receives alarming news from the mother of one of Natalie's classmates.
Natalie had not shown up at the airport, and no one had seen her since last night. She's missing.
Beth is terrified and suddenly finds herself speeding home at 120 miles an hour.
She might be early for something, but she's not going to be late. So it was just instant. I knew that something was terribly wrong, and I had to get to Aruba to figure out how I was going to try to find her.
Beth immediately charters a flight to Aruba and convinces several friends and family members to join her. While she waits for their plane to take off, she works the phone, trying to retrace Natalie's steps.
I was communicating with her classmates and just getting any specifics that I could.
Beth learns that the prior evening, Natalie and a handful of her classmates celebrated their final night on the island at a downtown club called Carlos and Charlie's. They arrived around 10:30 p.m., and friends recall seeing Natalie leave the nightclub around 1:30 a.m. with 3 Aruban locals, one of whom she'd met at the hotel casino earlier that day. But Natalie's friends can only recall his first name, Yoran.
She was last seen being escorted out of Carlos and Charlie's, and she was seen getting into the gray Honda.
6:15 a.m. The sun is rising over Aruba. Back at the hotel, Natalie's 3 roommates are packing for the flight home. 10 a.m. a charter bus arrives at the hotel to take Natalie's classmates to the airport for the trip home. Natalie is nowhere to be found.
As I'm boarding my flight, two of our really close friends came up to me. They said, "We can't find Natalie. She's not getting on the flight." And my first instinct was, Beth is going to be so mad.
Still, her friends don't believe anything is wrong.
Looking back, I want to just knock myself and think, why didn't you panic? But I didn't. I got on my flight. I first flew to Miami, and by the time I got to Miami, I talked to my parents, and they sounded very concerned. It's like when your mom and dad panic, that's really scary.
11 p.m. By the time Beth's plane touches down in Aruba, she is beyond frightened. Natalie's cell phone, passport, and luggage are still sitting in her room. But her daughter has vanished. Beth believes that if anyone has answers, it's the three locals last seen with Natalie. With only a first name to go by, Beth begins her search for Yoran.
The only thing really that's going through my mind is he's the last person seen with her. Let's go ask him. Let's go see him. I really felt two things. He has her. He has information.
As soon as they clear customs, Beth and her friends fan out across the island to find Natalie and locate Yoran.
She went straight to Natalie's hotel. She started asking questions about this Yoran guy.
I was able to get the rest of his name from a hotel employee.
The young man's name is Yoran Vandersloot, a 17-year-old known to gamble in the hotel casino. Beth convinces a local resident to tell her exactly where Yoran lives.
I had his name, I had an address, so we were off.
After alerting Aruban police, Beth and her team of friends and family soon arrive at the home of Yoran Vandersloot. Beth remains in the car while her friends confront him in his front yard. Vandersloot admits he and a pair of brothers named Deepak and Satish Kalpo left Carlos and Charlie's with Natalie around 1:30 the previous morning. Yoran claims that the group stopped at a lighthouse near the beach.
He says he's engaging with her, and at the same time he says that she's falling asleep, she's waking up, she's falling asleep, she's waking up, she's so drunk. So you can imagine the tempers at this point.
But Yoran claims he and the Kalpo brothers dropped Natalie off at the Holiday Inn. Both Deepak and Satish corroborate Yoran's story.
Did we believe him? No. But we were willing to listen to him. I mean, he was our only clue to Natalie.
Hello?
But Beth's only clue to finding her daughter is also the son of a well-connected attorney on the island. And Yoran's father, Paul Vandersloot, knows full well that Aruban authorities have no grounds to detain his son or the Kalpo brothers.
The Aruban police were much more helpful to Yoran and his father than they were to Beth.
It just presents so many insurmountable challenges when you receive the call that your son or your daughter or your loved one is missing, let alone, I mean, abroad. It's just incomprehensible.
Despite the challenges, Beth finds a way to move the search for Natalie forward.
But Tigress is a mother. She got down there and came up with the perfect answer in terms of enlisting people. She got the media.
She is an amazing 18-year-old girl, and Natalie is truly an angel. She's a member of the National Honor Society. She's a straight A student.
Although shy by nature, Beth forces herself to give countless interviews and press conferences, and the whole world starts to listen.
The latest on the search for Natalie Holloway.
By day 3 of her disappearance, Natalie's case has exploded into international news.
I never could have imagined that it would have been anything other than a story in Aruba.
The around-the-clock media requests are physically and emotionally draining. Beth taps into a reserve of inner strength to stay calm, collected, and keep the focus on finding Natalie.
I'm not leaving Aruba without her.
She just went into hyper-focused mode. She literally became the lead investigator of her own missing persons case.
With Beth leading the charge and camera crews tracking her every move, a massive search for Natalie is now underway.
Tonight, breaking news in the
Big development in the Natalie Holloway case. Police have a number of leads.
10 days after Beth's arrival in Aruba, the pressure of her media blitz finally pays off. Police bring Joran Vandersloot and the Kalpoe brothers in for questioning, but police can't hold them indefinitely without hard evidence.
They had no evidence on them unless they confessed or volunteered some evidence. And if they didn't, then they'd let them go. So, of course, they shut up.
Despite Beth's efforts, the search for her daughter is going nowhere. It has been 11 days since 18-year-old Natalie Holloway vanished without a trace in the Caribbean paradise of Aruba. Police have identified 3 suspects in her disappearance: Joran Vandersloot and brothers Deepak and Satish Kalpoe. But after detaining the Kalpoe brothers for nearly 4 weeks, investigators released them for a lack of evidence. Outraged, Beth lashes out at local authorities.
These criminals are not only allowed to walk freely among the tourists and citizens of Aruba, but there are no limits where they may choose to travel.
It was a fight from the moment I received the call that all mothers and fathers dread from the moment our children are born. I was desperate, and I would have done anything anybody asked me to do at that time. Anything.
But despite Beth's determination, she still can't answer the question, where is Natalie? Then suddenly, there's a break in the case. Shortly after being released, Deepak and Satish Kalpoe changed their story about what happened the night Natalie disappeared.
The first thing the Kalpoe brothers claimed was that they had dropped off Natalie at the Holiday Inn. That changed to they dropped Joran and Natalie off the beach and had picked him up there later.
When questioned by police for a second time, Joran drastically changes his story. Instead of dropping Natalie off at her hotel, he now admits he was on the beach alone with Natalie. But Joran maintains that he left Natalie there, alive and well, in order to meet back up with one of the Kalpoe brothers. If Joran was telling investigators the truth now, why had he lied before?
There's no reason to lie to authorities unless you have something to hide, so then itself suggested foul play.
But without physical evidence linking Joran to Natalie's disappearance, prosecutors in Aruba are unwilling to press charges. Beth is still convinced Vandersloot holds the key to finding her daughter and remains in Aruba to keep the pressure on.
My beautiful, intelligent, and outstanding daughter, who I haven't seen for 36 days and for whom I will continue to search until I find her.
Despite Beth's certainty, on September 3rd, authorities release Joran Vandersloot due to a lack of evidence. Natalie's friends begin their first semester of college, and an exhausted Beth returns home, no closer to finding her daughter than the day she disappeared.
Everything changed in her life, her marriage, her career, her family. Nothing was the same after that.
Beth may be a changed woman, but her resolve to find Natalie is unwavering. Finally, in 2008, nearly 3 years after Natalie vanished, there's a compelling break in the case. Joran Vandersloot has been caught on a hidden camera, telling an acquaintance yet another version of what happened the night Natalie disappeared. Joran now claims that while making out on the beach, Natalie suffered a seizure and died in his arms.
And all of a sudden, Patrick, like a movie, all those things she did.
Shaking?
Yeah, a lot. So I was like, what the is all this?
Panicked, Joran claims he called an anonymous friend who offered to dump her remains in the ocean.
You just threw her overboard, just like that?
She's never gonna be found.
In February of 2008, a Dutch television crew shows the footage to Beth. She's horrified at Joran's final remark.
How are you so sure she was dead, man? I wasn't sure. But she could have also been in a coma. Yeah, that's possible too, huh? That's possible.
That son of a bitch. Oh, dear God, they could have just dumped her alive in the ocean. Just unconscious. I mean, they don't even know.
It appears Beth has finally discovered the truth. But on learning that his account was caught on tape, Yoran claims he made the entire story up to impress a friend. Although authorities have no grounds to arrest him, Beth is more certain than ever that Yoran knows the truth about Natalie.
She knows who has the answers and where the answers are, and she still can't get them, and that's got to be the most frustrating thing.
Then, in 2010, Beth's search for the truth takes another unexpected turn. Yoran Vandersloot contacts Beth's attorney, John Kelly, via email.
We wanted Beth and Natalie's family to have some closure, and for a mere $250,000, he'd let me know where Natalie was and how she had died.
Though appalled by Vandersloot's offer, Beth is desperate for closure.
I didn't hesitate. I said, of course, I'll do it. As shocked and as horrific as that sounds, a parent, a mother, a father is so desperate that they will do anything.
Beth doesn't enter blindly into her deal with Yoran. She alerts the FBI, while attorney John Kelly flies to Aruba to deliver a $10,000 down payment to Yoran. After the exchange, Yoran leads Kelly to an upscale neighborhood not far from the Holiday Inn.
He pointed out a house where he said it was just gravel at the time, but after they buried her there, a foundation was poured. And he actually showed me which room on the house supposedly she was buried under.
After 5 years of searching, Beth can only hope she's on the verge of finding her daughter. But shortly after receiving his $10,000 down payment, Yoran again recants his story.
Yoran sent me an email saying that, I'm sorry, Mr. Kelly, you're a nice man, but I lied to you. The location I showed you is not where Natalie is. You can check it out all you want. It was all a lie.
Police confirm that for once, Yoran Vandersloot is telling the truth. Natalie could not have possibly been buried there.
It was all a hoax. Where he was claiming that her remains were would not have been possible because of the construction deed.
The house where he said she was in the foundation had not been built at the time. Natalie was supposedly disposed there.
Yoran's lies have once again dashed Beth's hope for finding Natalie. But this time, there could be serious consequences, including possible jail time.
There was no question that it was an airtight case for extortion and mail fraud.
Investigators now have Yoran squarely in their crosshairs, but as they consider a potential takedown, Yoran vanishes.
He just disappeared. And the reason why is we felt he became frightened or somehow tipped off.
With the prime suspect now missing, and with no physical evidence or other credible leads, Beth's chances of finding Natalie seem slimmer than ever. 5 years after Natalie Holloway vanished from Aruba, prime suspect Yoran Vandersloot promises to lead Beth to Natalie's remains for $250,000. Yoran ultimately backs out of the deal, but not before vanishing with Beth's $10,000 down payment.
He just disappeared. He just disappeared.
Then, 2 weeks after Yoran Vandersloot vanishes in Aruba, there's a horrifying new lead in the case. In Lima, Peru, 21-year-old Stephanie Flores is found murdered in a hotel room. Authorities have apprehended a suspect, none other than Yoran Vandersloot. On questioning Vandersloot, police learned that he met Flores at a casino in downtown Lima. While sharing a hotel room for the night, Yoran claims he caught Stephanie going through his laptop.
Stephanie had been looking at Euron's emails. Part of the fear is that she saw the emails between myself and Euron.
Outraged, Euron allegedly beat Stephanie to death.
Let's all remind ourselves and keep the Flores family in our hearts and in our prayers.
Just after Stephanie Flores is buried, Beth flies to Peru to give the Flores family her personal condolences.
I felt compelled to reach out to the Flores family. Our daughters, Stephanie and Natalie, both beautiful, young, smart women, they're having to deal with now the same feelings and devastation that I am. How could I not connect with them?
Vandersloot is being held at Castro Maximum Security Prison, just outside Lima. Beth decides to pay him a visit as well.
I had the opportunity to go and meet face-to-face with Euron, and how could I not?
On September 15th, 2010, Beth enters Castro Prison. Security escorts her to a makeshift interrogation room. Beth and her team set up a surveillance camera. Moments later, Euron Vandersloot is brought in.
I know you want to make a plea deal in Peru and in Aruba and in the U.S. And I've met with the prosecutors and I've met with the Flores family. And Euron, I won't do anything until I get some information about Natalie.
But Euron refuses to give Beth any new information.
I hope you can understand also it's very hard for me to talk to. It's really not easy. I'm really doing my best.
There's not an ounce of compassion or an ounce of feeling or warmth or concern or guilt or anything in that body. Nothing. Cold as ice.
After sitting down with Euron for the first time, Beth is overcome with emotion. Without a confession, she's no closer to finding her daughter.
She gave him her email address, and he said he would write her. I don't know what he would have to say, but he hasn't written her yet.
Vandersloot is still awaiting trial for the murder of Stephanie Flores. If convicted, he may face a maximum sentence of up to 35 years.
Is it justice for the Flores family? He is in jail there. Who knows what will become of him? Ugly place he's in. For the Holloway family, he hasn't been tried on American soil. Ultimately, he probably will never be tried for Natalie Holloway's death.
Today, Beth Holloway continues the search for her daughter
Our young adults are at the age
and works on behalf of families of missing persons from all walks of life.
vibrant waves that washed her.
After all that Beth has been through, she has every right to crawl in a cave somewhere and never come out. But she has made a choice to make a positive impact as a result of the tragedy that's happened.
She's not just curled up in her bed crying about it. From the day she found out, she's done something about it.
My daughter, she would have been a senior this year. Her name was Natalie Holloway.
I've never stopped searching for Natalie, and I continue to this day to do everything within my capabilities in order to try to find a resolution.
Just thinking about Natalie and what a fireball she was. Maybe that came from Beth. That maybe that was deep down inside of her and she was an average mom, and then that superhero got its chance to come out.
Since Natalie vanished in 2005, there have been thousands of people who've gone missing in the United States, proving that what happened to my family could happen to anyone at any time and at any place. But I believe that together we can take action to bring the missing home and criminals to justice, because someone out there knows something. The pain of having a loved one disappear is unimaginable. It drives us to seek answers in unlikely places and to constantly ask ourselves, how could this happen? But for one California family, this question is even harder to answer.
November 2009. Summer McStay is a full-time mom to 4-year-old Gianni and 3-year-old baby Joe. Husband Joey McStay is a successful entrepreneur.
Joey was in the fountain business, and his business was actually doing excellent considering the economy.
In fact, fountains have paid for the McStay's dream home, a 5-bedroom hacienda in the San Diego suburb of Fallbrook.
We're at the cul-de-sac. There's the house.
This is the house.
No sooner do the McStays move in than Summer and Joey set in motion a grand remodeling plan.
We're going to rip out the cabinets. I'll be putting a beautiful granite here. And of course, I'll put stainless steel appliances in here as well.
Between the kids and the remodeling, the McStays keep a busy schedule. The same was true on February 4th, 2010. Just after 9:30 a.m., Summer's sister Tracy calls to check in on the family. Summer tells Tracy she'll talk to her later, but she never does. In fact, 9 days pass and no one hears anything from Summer or Joey.
I thought maybe Summer decided everybody was going crazy. Let's, go camping for the week, or let's, head out to Santa Barbara, Morro Bay.
Worried something might be wrong, Michael McStay heads to his brother's home. No one answers the door, and the family's white Isuzu Trooper is gone. But where?
What's going through your mind?
I had made the drop-dead date that Monday. If they didn't do this vacation, a little 10-day vacay over the week of Valentine's Day, that I was calling in.
It's now Monday, February 15th, and the McStays are still not answering phone calls. At 10 a.m., Michael contacts the Fallbrook Sheriff's Department. 11 days into their disappearance, Joey, Summer, and their 2 boys are finally declared missing.
It's official. They're missing. No one has seen them. No one has heard from them.
When it was all hitting at that point, it was kind of surreal. I think the light bulb moment when it really hit me was when all the detectives showed up.
Detective Troy Dugal takes the lead in the investigation. He begins searching the house for any signs of foul play. There is no sign of a struggle. The McStay home appears normal, perhaps a little too normal.
What was odd about the house when you entered it?
A typical person who would have left their home for a number of days wouldn't leave food out. That means that the family probably left in a hurry.
Along with eggs sitting out on the counter, Detective Dugal finds paint cans left open. The family's luggage is still in the house, as are Summer's glasses.
It just didn't make sense. My sister can't see without glasses, not 2 feet in front of her. So there's no way she would have left those things behind.
Using their cell phone and bank records, Detective Dugal pinpoints the family's last known activity.
Phone records, financial records, all of that stop on February 4th.
Interviews with friends and family reveal February 4th was a day like any other. Joey conducted business on the phone, while Summer remodeled the house. Then, at approximately 8:30 in the evening, all activity stops.
This isn't a family that just uproots and disappears and disconnects. This is a connected family.
What's up, dudes?
It doesn't line up.
In canvassing the area, police do uncover one telling piece of evidence. A neighbor's home security camera has captured a final glimpse of what could be the McStay family. At precisely 7:47, their white trooper is seen pulling away from the house, but it's unclear who is driving or how many people are in the car.
You can see the wheel wells and just the bottom portion of that vehicle as it drives down the street.
It doesn't ever show them coming back to their house on February 4th.
Whether they left the house voluntarily or were abducted, by now the McStays could be thousands of miles from home. But where exactly? By trolling a national police database, Detective Dugal finds an answer.
Their vehicle had been impounded on February 8th at a shopping area down by the U.S.-Mexico border.
The white trooper was towed from a parking lot in San Ysidro, California, about 90 miles south of Fallbrook, and just a 5-minute walk from the border. According to friends and family, this proves the McStays are not on vacation.
For him to take those babies over the border, or there's just no way. Everything's on TV, Obama saying, do not go over the border. There was a huge fear of that in everyone.
Complicating the search for the McStays is the fact that the area where the vehicle was found is home to the busiest border crossing in the world. But Detective Dugal believes that if the McStays were forced into Mexico, there's a chance custom surveillance cameras caught them and their captors on tape.
I went to Immigration Customs Enforcement and I got a 24-hour time period of surveillance video from midnight on the 7th through midnight on the 8th to cover more than enough of when the persons who drove that vehicle could have crossed the border.
More than 100,000 people pass through the turnstiles every 24 hours. It will take investigators nearly 2 weeks to sift through the footage. In the meantime, Detective Dugal's only hope of finding the McStays lies in their abandoned vehicle.
This is the McStay's white Isuzu Trooper that was recovered from an impound yard in the Chula Vista area. Obviously, we processed the vehicle for fingerprints, DNA, everything that we do.
To Detective Dugal's surprise, nothing seems out of the ordinary. Lab techs can't find a single suspicious fingerprint. Nor are there any signs of forced entry. And the children's car seats leave little room for a potential kidnapper.
Once I was completed with the vehicle, I was very confident that Joseph and Summer drove this vehicle.
Why would the McStays abandon their car less than a mile from the border? Detective Dugal keeps returning to the same theory.
The physical evidence, and from my investigation, I say that it's likely that the McStays crossed the border, and the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming.
Adding to the mystery is the fact that Joey and Summer's bank accounts hold a total of $100,000. And since their disappearance, not a penny has been touched.
There was no major withdrawals, no spending of money, no credit card transactions, anything that would make me believe, oh, they took out a large quantity of money, now they're going somewhere, vacation or hiding. There's nothing that indicates that.
With no sign of foul play and no indication that the McStays had planned their disappearance, the investigation comes to a screeching halt.
You just don't even know which way you're moving, and even if you are moving, I mean, this is a nightmare. And it's just hard to try to be strong.
It's now been almost 4 weeks since the McStay family vanished from their new home in Fallbrook, California. The only evidence police have of their whereabouts is an abandoned Isuzu Trooper found less than a mile from the Mexican border. Friends and family are at a loss for answers.
It doesn't make any sense. We have a car, we have an empty home, we have a full bank account, we have luggage, we have... There again, you're like, I don't know what to think.
Finally, in early March, the case turns a corner. The surveillance video taken at the border reveals that 4 hours before the McStay's white trooper is towed, a family of 4 crosses into Mexico.
In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a man holding the hand of a child, and then you'll see a woman on the lower left with the child on the right holding hands.
They walk right by this pole, and they absorb into the crowd as they go across the border.
Could it be the McStays? The footage is too obscure to tell for sure, but their body types are a close match.
I've studied that video and everybody in it, trying to see if is somebody beside them, is somebody maybe have a gun or you know, it's the video from hell.
Michael, in that video, is there any sign of a kidnapper or a gunman?
The detectives tell me that it doesn't appear so, and I believe that.
Did you think it was them?
I really wanted it to be them, but I just couldn't make an ID.
The video evidence raises a difficult question. Have the McStays really abandoned their storybook life in Fallbrook and vanished into Mexico? On March 28th, a search of the McStays' home computer yields one more clue.
Somebody within the McStay residence used the computer in the den to search for documentation and how to access traveling from the United States to Mexico. Both Joseph and Summer were home on that day.
The research occurred just 1 week prior to the family's disappearance.
Look, who's this?
But the McStays have no reason to cross the border, and friends and family can't accept the idea that the McStays abandoned everything and everyone that they loved.
Oh my God.
Do you know of any reason that they would travel to Mexico?
They have the American dream over here. Why would they want to? I mean, leave your house, leave your job, leave your family. I just don't, know.
You guys say goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye now.
Hi, you like all this big room in here?
The house is here. The house right here.
Yeah.
Though alternate theories on why the McStays might have vanished run the gamut from secret debts to stalkers, 1 year later, the search for Joey, Summer, Joey Jr., and Gianni is no closer to ending than the day the family disappeared.
They potentially left of their own on the 4th, remained somewhere in the local area or in the United States till the 8th, and then crossed the border on the 8th, if you believe that's them. If you don't believe that's them, then anything is possible.
Sometimes the hardest part in searching for a missing person is keeping the case going. What makes you get up every day and go to work for your brother and his wife and your nephews? What is it?
It's love. I love my family. I love my family, and I love my brother. And I love my nephews. And I have to, because I have to know.
I write my son. I write him letters. You know, whether I'm sad, happy, mad, and I email him. Hopefully, you'll see him someday. He'll know, we're looking, we love him, and we need to bring them all home and deal with whatever it is.
No matter how or why the McStay family vanished, detectives and relatives alike are determined to bring them home. Now more than ever, they need your help. If you have any information to help shed light on the mysterious disappearance of Joey, Summer, Gianni, and baby Joey McStay, contact us now.
Joseph McStay is 5'9" with dark, naturally curly hair. Summer McStay is 5'5". She has brown eyes and wears glasses. 5-year-old Gianni McStay has light brown, naturally wavy hair. His 4-year-old brother, Joseph Jr., has a red birthmark on his forehead. If you have information about any of these missing people, please go to mylifetime.com/vanished and click on the tips button.
This side of the turnstile is the United States. As soon as you pass through that turnstile, you're in Mexico.
I know you have covered this story so thoroughly, and I feel like it all leads back to right here, to this pathway leading into Mexico. And no one else appeared to be surrounding the 4 family members as they were walking?
I don't believe that the family that is in that video is being guided across the border. That family, in my estimation, was walking in their own free will.